All right, hello everybody. My name is Adam Grenda and I'll be speaking today from live webinar. So straight from the headquarters here, we'll be talking about evergreen events and evergreen content. So yes, good to have you all here. Moving on. So yeah, let's have a look here. Yes, nice to meet you, Claudia. I'm interested to see where everybody's from and what your business is as well. So feel free to say hello in the chat or even mention what it is that you do. Oh, wow, yeah, looks like I have a bit of a global audience today. Okay, so, okay. Yeah, I have a feeling that we'll have a few coaches today. Oh, hydrogeologist. Oh, definitely benefit from evergreen. Yeah. Okay, nice to meet you, Nikki. All right then, so, hello Eric, Leonardo, belting industry, interesting one. Okay, so anybody that's just joined now, nice to have you with us, and we'll get slowly started. I guess just a few words about myself here, my story with live webinar. I've been on board since November, advising potential clients on how to capitalize their webinar effort and reach by implementing custom rebranded tool, tailor-built exactly to their specifications. So in other words, the live webinar white label enterprise solution. While talking webinars for about half a year, I've been in the SaaS industry for a few years now. So bulk of the time was in the email and marketing automation sector. So anybody that's in marketing automation here or digital marketing, then you speak the same language. And in addition, personally, I've been doing a small travel blog for a while, and I do a fair bit of photography, video editing, and some graphic design. So that's me in a nutshell. And particularly when it comes to the video editing, I really appreciate it when you can edit a video and be able to fine-tune it and prepare it, which is a big benefit of evergreen content and evergreen webinars. Oh, hello for anybody that we've just had join us. So what will you gain from this webinar? Aside from hearing my voice for a while, you will also discover what evergreen content and events are and how you may benefit by including them into your overall marketing and online strategy. So, okay, hello. Moving on, so our agenda today. What exactly is evergreen content and automated webinars? How can we use them in business? So evergreen events, essentially automated events with the ability of being run countless times. Evergreen content, content that isn't time sensitive. So content that isn't prone to change and update, definitely doesn't rely on current affairs. This content can be prepared at any time and released anytime. So that's the number one important thing there. And of course, how to use them in business, how to generate leads, generate sales, educate, inform. I think the majority of us today, the majority of you attendees, you'll be able to definitely implement evergreen into your strategy and definitely get some benefit from them. How to create an evergreen webinar? Depends on the software, but at a live webinar, very easy. We'll also give you a quick demo, so I'll show you exactly how easy it is to create, how easy it is also to incorporate it into your website. So yes, we'll be definitely looking at that, and a Q&A session. So I'll do my best to address any questions, any feedback that you may have. I also have my marketing team and the moderators here who will be answering any questions that you may have, and of course assisting. If we get a barrage of questions, then we'll endeavor to look at each and every one of them. So, okay, hello Mana. So now that hopefully most of us are here, so we can get started. So without further ado, let's begin. Have you ever heard about evergreen webinars? I know some of you may be new to this, so you may be thinking about how to open up a new business and create webinars, automated webinars and live webinars as well. Whereas others may be industry experts, so you might have feedback that I can definitely even use from you. So I'll be definitely looking forward to any feedback later on. So now if you can answer the survey below. Oh, that's good. Okay, all right, so we'll give it a few minutes. We'll see what kind of spread we've got. So far, it's an overwhelming yes. But feel free, if you're a no, then feel free to be honest. Then I'll slightly alter the flow of this presentation. Oh, okay. Oh, hello. Okay, Toropov, you say that you reached out. We'll definitely look at that. I'll have my details at the end of this presentation. So if anybody's been unable to reach us or has anything, then feel free to email me directly and definitely look into that. Okay, let's give it one more minute. Anybody else that wants to give their opinion? Okay, all right then. Well, let's get going. So we've got 78% at yes, 22% at no. We'll be good because we'll be touching some basics of evergreen webinars, but we'll also be looking at important things like what advantages there are, what disadvantages there are, why you should be using an evergreen or why you should be using a live webinar. So of course, it's not a fix for every single situation, so we'll definitely look at all of that. So, okay, so let's get started. What is evergreen content? Evergreen content is search-optimized content that is continually relevant and stays fresh for users over a long period of time. Okay, so okay, so for the 22% that isn't aware of what evergreen is and how it can be used, think of TV sitcoms. So any TV show that you know that has been around since the 90s, and like Seinfeld or Friends, they're going through countless reruns. That's a very easy way of looking at this. So something that was done at a period of time that is constantly relevant. So in the digital and online world, blog posts, that is an example of evergreen content. So in the majority of cases, they stay online, and in the good content cases, they are relevant and fresh for countless period of time as well. So for instance, a travel blog about traveling the Silk Road through Central Asia was relevant until COVID hit, so not relevant anymore. Or more relevant even, how to build a tool shed. Okay, so how to cook a great Eggs Benedict. How to change the oil in your Toyota. So plenty of things that you can do evergreen, or you can use evergreen for purposes. And you only need to record the presentation once without the need of further adjustments. So you simply select your recording that you've made, you assign it, and that's that. So we'll look at that shortly. I'll just take a quick look at the chat. Okay. So let's move on. Okay, so live webinars versus evergreen automated webinars. So both have a similar amount of pros and cons. So live webinars allow for a personal touch to what you're presenting, as well as live interaction with the audience. aside from general feedback, it's also an ideal way of receiving feedback. So definitely, like what we're having at the moment, it's by all means a live webinar. Interactivity, like I said, it enables us to chat, or even in many cases, you can have small discussion groups with a live webinar, so then you get the more one-to-one interaction there. A rule of inaccessibility. What this means is that it's leveraging on the importance of attending and witnessing a webinar. So, for example, if you know Tony Robbins, you know he always does these exclusive sessions. Now, let's say that he's doing a live session, and if you don't make it, you will never learn his secrets, his latest secrets or reveals. So there's this fear of missing out factor, which in this case is used as a benefit. Okay. So now for the cons. Just like everything has its downsides. With live webinars, they are not reproducible. So what this means is that if you're running multiple sessions of the webinar, you need to be present for each one. So you, in a way, repeat yourself every time. And obviously, this can be exhausting. So in my case, imagine if I had to do this every 2 hours, I'd be probably exhausted. Yes, especially if I need to cater for every single time zone. So not edible. So it's an obvious limitation of anything that isn't live. It's not possible for me to speak for 5 minutes and then go, hold on, that's not right. Let's go back and scratch that. Okay, so please forget everything that I've said for the last 10 minutes. So that's a no can do for live webinars. And with limited by your time, well, once again, an obvious one, you need to be available for every session if you're a presenter or host, or the presenter that you have needs to be consistently available. If we're talking of webinars in multiple time zones, then it becomes trickier. So most businesses these days, most online businesses are global, so definitely that. Okay, I've got a question here. How long do you recommend an evergreen webinar? Depends on what it is that you're doing, because some cases, if it's, let's say, a tutorial, if it's a step-by-step procedure on how to do something, then obviously 15 minutes, half an hour, or if it's like this that I'm doing now. So let's say that this is a evergreen instead of an evergreen webinar on evergreen webinars, then I can do this for 1 hour. And then I think that would be enough. But you don't want to do it for too long, so that obviously you don't have your attendees getting bored and then not looking into that. Okay, right. So now for automated webinars and evergreen events. In case you were wondering, automated webinars and evergreen events, it's very similar. It's just about the same thing, right? So one thing that automated webinars, if we're being very technical, it means that you can have, for example, a session where, just like we have right now, a live session. Yes, exactly. Like that. So you could, for example, have something repeating every day for 6 p.m., right, for 1 week. That could be an automated webinar. Whereas an evergreen event encompasses all of that. So you could have something like, for example, a just-in-time event. Yeah, so every time you click on the link, you can access it. So let's say that you're looking through some content and then all of a sudden you get an important phone call, or your baby starts crying or something, or you lose power. So you don't need to worry. You can always go back to the content later. Okay, so timeless. What this means is that you could be fast asleep at midnight and in the meantime have an automated webinar playing for an audience in Australia, for example. Okay, so not only does the presenter not need to be present, but there is no longer a need to sync everything up again. So cameras, lighting, graphics, and so on. So once you've edited it, once you've prepared, once you're satisfied with what you're doing, then that's fine. And not only this, but you can also edit it until it is ideal. A chance to make the perfect presentation. An opt-in incentive for your attendees. It can be a lead magnet. So if the content is good, your attendees will be incentivized to receive more. So they'll sign up and they will thereby they'll leave you their name, email, and whatever in return for more. So you keep releasing good content, you will receive more subscribers. Eventually, those subscribers may convert into customers or whatever it is that your business deals with. And yeah. Right, and now flexibility, flexible access. One of my favorites, personally, as a presenter. It's very useful and convenient for your attendees and subscribers as well, because if your reach is global, then, for instance, you're doing a recording like I am now. I'm in Europe, so I'm doing this at 6 p.m., but we have American attendees who are at 9 a.m. at the moment. But then we also have Australians who are at the moment, depending on where in Australia, 12 or 2 a.m. Exactly, so you can have a webinar that can cater to everybody there. And of course, being able to always go back to that webinar as well. Of course, evergreen events are not without their disadvantages. So they're less personal. So, you're not there in person, but so do your attendees, right? There's less interaction. A live Q&A session is not possible. So with live webinar, there is an option to have chat in your evergreen event, but it's still not the same as live and direct interaction, just like with me, for example. Just 1 second. Okay. Okay, let's have a look here. Okay, I see that my team is on the chat. That's good. Okay, and lack of urgency. So this means that there's no FOMO effect, so no fear of missing out. So I guess less of an urgency if you want to have a once-in-a-lifetime deal and you want to make sure that everybody who wants this deal or wants to learn this or wants to sign up for this has to be in a webinar at this time, then obviously that doesn't apply in this case. Okay, so now moving on. Common evergreen formats. So how-to content. How to do this, how to create an Eggs Benedict, how to edit a video, how to use your camera properly, just about anything, or how to use live webinar properly, or how to use a webinar in a way where your webinars are being effective and efficient in reaching out to your audience. Plenty of ways there. Tips. You can give out tips in just about anything. So the thing about evergreen formats is that with evergreens is that as long as your content is relevant, that means that your how-to content and tips should also be relevant. So yes, tips that apply to something in general. So obviously you wouldn't give a tip on how to use an iPhone 4, for example, because it's not really relevant anymore. Tutorials. So for instance, we're releasing a couple of tutorials on how to use certain features of live webinar, for example. You could have a tutorial on how to use your product, or a tutorial on, how to use Adobe, for example. It's my personal experience being a customer of Adobe, but plenty of tutorials. And of course, evergreen events are a perfect way of being able to access this. Product reviews. Plenty of product reviews. You can find out a review on almost anything online these days. The best way of doing this, obviously, a evergreen event, because if you're doing a live webinar on a product review, then many people are going to miss this, obviously. Also, the fact that a product review will most likely stay relevant over a very long period of time. Education, one of my favorites, because I've also signed up for some online courses during this funny COVID time. And yes, I love the fact that I can access a course at whenever I like. I can access it before work, after work, on the weekend. So very useful. And being able to go back to this afterwards as well. Let me just have a quick look at the chat. Okay, everything. Oh, let's see that we have a couple new people there. Nice to meet you all. Toronto, Canada. I've always wanted to go there. Maybe after COVID, I will eventually. Okay, moving on. Definitely non-evergreen topics. US presidential elections. So with all the Americans among us. You know what I mean? Every 4 years, you get the craziness with the elections, and then somehow it all dies out, right? So it's definitely not something that you're going to be doing an evergreen on. Where to buy a Christmas tree? Once again, perfect example. Something that's only relevant for maybe 1 or 2 months during the year. Premiere of iPhone 12. It's slowly not relevant, so it might be relevant for a few people, but in 2-3 years' time, definitely won't be. Google Penguin update. That's definitely not relevant. And current affairs. So anything to do with the news. So even for the Europeans among us here, you might be watching the Euro FIFA Championship at the moment. So obviously anything that happens is relevant and interesting now, but a few weeks from now, everybody will probably forget about it. Okay, so moving on. Now you can see a bit of a graphical representation on how this would look like. So you can see US presidential elections. You can see these little bumps every 4 years. After that, it's pretty much dead. Raz, how to generate leads. I think this is probably one of the hottest, most searched topics online these days, apart from many obvious day-to-day matters. And as you see, it'll be always relevant, and quite possibly it'll be more and more relevant. The more saturated the online digital world gets, the more relevant you will have, the more relevant these lead generation videos will be. Okay, so why is evergreen content popular? Why is evergreen content important? So it generates leads. I'd wager on giving a permanent increase to your lead growth if your content is useful and relevant to what it portrays. High search rankings. So Google really likes appropriately titled, universal, well-prepared content that delivers what was promised and even exceeds viewer expectations. Scaling business more effectively and efficiently. No technical issues. Very crucial one here, because it can happen to anybody if they're doing a live webinar or a live session. So many factors come into play apart from the actual webinar software itself. So internet problems, power outages, both of which have happened to me recently, much feared blue screen of death. Prior preparation of these webinars allows for elimination of these potential problems. So if it's content that will be relevant over some time, it's a bit of a no-brainer of doing an evergreen evergreen event as opposed to a live webinar. A high attendance rate, as outlined earlier, more flexibility, more attendance. I'd wager that we've got a bit of an audience here right now, but I'd wager if I turn this into an evergreen event and this stays relevant for some time, I'll definitely get much higher reach on the internet. And last but not least, burnout avoidance. So if you're hosting the same webinar every day for the next few weeks, you can experience boredom and tiredness. And this will be apparent in the webinar. So it might be about 6:22 in the afternoon for me at the moment, but still full of energy. But if I were doing this for 6 p.m. for the next few days, you'd be able to see the tiredness very clearly. So let me have a look at the chat. Okay, that's correct. There, so I'll be speaking about enterprise as well in a greater detail. So a couple of words about enterprise now is that it enables you to build your own platform in a way, so customize and rebrand the entire experience. So your evergreen events with enterprise, what happens there is that you can not only have it embedded to your website, but you can have it completely rebranded with your own logo, everything. Why high attendance with evergreen? Because once again, depends on the content. It needs to be relevant content. It needs to be something that isn't very urgent at that point in time. So obviously, if it's current affairs, so current affairs are never going to be an evergreen event, obviously. But high attendance because more people can attend them over different periods of time. So you would definitely have more of a global reach there. Now moving on, we have three popular use cases. So sell your services and products online. So let's see, if you're selling a cleaning product, for example, so classic sales pitch there, perfect way of throwing in a demo of the cleaning at work. So, and not only this, but your presentation, your pitch can then be replicated, it can be reproduced, you can embed it into your website, put it in other places. So sell your product or services 24/7. That is what that means. So you're not limited by the 9 to 5. Online education. You can allow your students to access events recorded in the past. Yes, a very relevant example these days, especially since there has been a shift to online learning. So I'm sure that I have a few people here that are in the education learning industry. You get what I'm saying. There's been a big push towards online, and of course, teaching somebody on the other side of the world, it is much more easier to just do it via an evergreen event. So yes, so if you're not able to make a vital lecture, for example, you can always catch up to it later on. Take Udemy, for example. Using them as an example, because I've done a couple of full courses for them in the past. You sign up for a course, you go through automated lessons, complete and submit assignments, and then, of course, you can communicate with the lecturer if you have any questions, just like just about any online, any recent online provider. If they're not using evergreen events, then they're missing out on a lot of potential. And lead generation. So subscribers of your content will watch the evergreens, right? It'll hopefully pique their interest. Afterwards, they may reach out to you directly for more information, or even to buy right away. So after that, your sales team gets on it and does a demo, does a live demo, and hopefully closes the sale. So let's have a quick look here. Okay. Okay, so I can see that chat's taken care of, so let's move on. Tips for creating evergreen webinars. So choose the right keywords. I'm sure a number of you have been on the online digital world for a number of years. You know how important it is for good search engine optimization and just being able to attract and maintain your subscribers or your customers. So use the right keywords for everything. So if you're talking about, say, lead generation, obviously have lead generation. Also, if there's, okay, so hopefully there's not much of an echo, but if we're still having an echo because I can't hear it, do let me know and I will make a couple of adjustments. Okay. Take into account the knowledge level of your target group. Also an important one, if you're talking about something like, let's see, Python programming, for example, and obviously if you're talking about advanced Python, you want to make sure that whoever's in your webinar knows a bit about programming in general. Whereas the other side of the coin, if, say, you're talking about something very basic, but you have advanced industry experts looking for your webinar, then obviously it might be a bit, it might frustrate them and you might lose a few potential clients. So be sure to appropriately brand, appropriately send a message across to attract the appropriate level of the target group. Optimize for search engine optimization. So definitely something that works both ways there, because not only if you work on your search engine optimization, will your evergreen event have better performance, but it also works both ways, so that if your evergreen event is relevant, if you're using the right keyword, if everything ticks the boxes there, then your search engine optimization will improve as well. Okay, so I'm going to answer one question here. I can see if the sales started in the webinar at 30 minutes and the participant spent 40 minutes at the webinar but did not buy, then you contact him. To do this, you need to track how much time the participant spent at the webinar. So easy way of doing something like this, it's custom reporting. It's also something that is an integral feature in our enterprise offering. So with the normal live webinar plans, there is reporting, but if you want to be very specific and you want to absolutely make the most of this, be sure to consider going enterprise, white labeling your solution. Okay, perfect. That's good to hear. No echo in Toronto. Now repurpose your content. Excuse me. So yes, you want to make sure that the content, if anything changes, you want to make sure that your content is also repurposed in that regard. Choose topics that are universal or that are relatively easy updated. And number one. Okay, so now my favorite part of this is where I show you just how we can use this, just how easy it is to set up a evergreen event, and also how you can even link it and embed it to your website. So I'm just going to make a couple of adjustments here and give you a look. Okay, so here we have the live webinar dashboard, but let's backtrack a little bit. So for anybody here that might not be aware of live webinar, might not be using a couple of words, this is the dashboard and these are the different types of events, webinars that you can do. So scheduled events. So these are of course live webinars. So whenever you schedule an event for that time, then that is the time that the event's going to run. Permanent rooms, you can have these for popular meetings or any situation where you feel that you will constantly be repeating the same event. Evergreen events, that's what we want to talk about here. So I've made one especially for this presentation. So I'm not going to create a new one just from scratch, but I will show you exactly what I did and you'll see for yourself how this looks like in practice. So you're given a name, your event URL. It can be a random number, but you can also have a friendly URL. So in this case, evergreen content presentation. So good for searching and also good for a good way of remembering the name. So here we want to make sure that it is a evergreen room automatic event. And in this specific case, like I mentioned earlier, it's called a just-in-time event. So this means that it's not an automated event in the sense that you might have it running maybe at a specific time every day, or maybe after, or maybe even a one-time evergreen event. In this case, every time you click on it, you'll be able to view it countless number of times. Okay, the problem is that you can enlarge the screen. So my chat team can further elaborate on that, but it is possible to enlarge the screen, enlarge the presentation screen, and then you can see it in greater detail. But I will tell you exactly what I'm doing anyway, so don't worry. Moving down here, you can choose what exactly you want to use for the content. So in this case, we're going to go with a YouTube video, because this is something that we did, a video that we did recently on how to increase online course sales using live webinar. And this is definitely something that is a crucial benefit of using evergreen events. It's the ability to have a call to action there. So with live webinar, you can have this call to action at any time you like. So in this case, I've decided to have the select time frame set at 11. So you'll see shortly in the example what you can expect. Countdown clock. Don't have to do this, but you can, and then it means that there will be a clock 5 minutes before the event. So you can definitely add maybe to a bit of a suspense there. Okay, and now this chat, it's optional, so you don't need to have this, but what this chat does is that you can have somebody from your company still partaking in the evergreen event and simply monitoring and answering chats. So yeah, that's exactly what that would do. But you may lose, just like it says there, you may lose the live effect of the evergreen. So in some situations I'd encourage it, in other situations, and if it's something that really doesn't need interaction, then I'd leave that out. Okay, so now moving on. Of course, you can have a registration form associated with this, a live webinar one. You can have tracking and any advanced settings as well. So, for example, this is a good one, if you want to have a thank you email sent to any attendees afterwards, you can definitely do it that way. Now, I'm using this specific template editor here called Landingi. And I'm just going to edit this. Okay, I'm getting messages here that quality is bad. Tell me, is this... Second. Okay, how's it now? Can you see a bit better? Okay, that's good. Yes, perfect. Okay, well, still, it's good that everything is clear now. And really, all we looked at earlier was just this. So for anybody that couldn't see clearly what I was doing, what we were doing there is just going through the evergreen event creation process. A couple of minutes to do and only a few things that really need to be inputted there. So now going over to how to embed this into your website. But first of all, we go back here and we go into this little thing here, embed. Okay, so here we get the relevant script. Now, all we do is we go here. Now, just a simple landing page that I've created. So yeah, something that a number of you would be using a similar template. So now, if I go here, so in this case, whenever anybody registers, they are then directed to a thank you page. And this is where we're going to have this HTML. Okay, so it's exactly the same HTML as here, right? Okay, so we go back here. Now, let us register. And picture this, your attendee has left their information, has registered, and now we are ready to start. Okay, so let's give us about a half a minute here. Will we send the presentation that I'm doing? Absolutely. We will have this recorded. This is being recorded, so we'll be able to publicate it later. Okay, so here you have the call to action button. So see, if I click on this, I'm now led to landing page of your choice. Okay. Okay, that's very good to hear. Once again, if you're happy to stay here till the end of the webinar, don't worry, we don't have much to go. There'll be a short Q&A and my details afterwards as well. Or you can reach out to my colleague from marketing there. Or if you're looking at a more tailor-made solution, reach out to me directly and let's set up a meeting and we'll go from there. Okay, so now, some of you may have also seen this webinar that we did a while ago, but here you can see it as an evergreen event. So yeah, that's it basically with regards to that. So now I'm just going to go back to the presentation, like this. Okay, so why should you choose a live webinar? I'll just cover a few bases there because I could go for another hour and giving you every single reason to use this. But even like my colleague there said, you have a 14-day trial to see if it is for you. I feel assured that you will see some benefit in it. It is easy to use and user-friendly. We have our support always available to help you out with anything. Our attention to our clients. So we want to ensure that you have the best experience possible. Okay, Vadim, what are the prices for evergreen events? Afterwards, I'll give you a link to the landing page, and there you will be able to see it's included as part of our plans. Yeah, so you can do live webinars and evergreen events at the same time. So, moving on. Okay, so if check out our plans here. I have a free plan, the pro, the business plan, and the enterprise plan. So if it's a small business, if you're just starting out, then pro and business, very easy way to get into the webinar world, record some webinars, host some webinars, both evergreen events and live webinars. And like you can see there, you can have even up to 500 participants in there. Okay, but I'd also like to just share a few things about the enterprise solution. So it's the premium offering that we have. On our page, we don't have a pricing. The reason is because it is tailor-made. So I need to find out exactly what we're doing. So you'd be speaking with me, for example, or my colleague Philip, and we'd find out exactly what you want to do, and then we'd tell you what pricing you'd be looking at. Just about anything can be customized. We're very flexible, so if you need something or you don't need other things, then we can certainly arrange that as well. So for more details of that, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to show you exactly how this works. So you can use your own domain. That is also a very, very important thing for certain clients. So if you have your own web page and you want to keep using that specific domain, you can then carry this onto your webinar platform. So you wouldn't have the live webinar thing up the top, you would have your business name. So for example, in my case, I could have render photography, right? I could be doing tips on how to take perfect photos, custom roles. So you're not limited with just the roles that we have to offer on our basic plans. You can expand that. Security and privacy, we definitely take that seriously there, and whatever verification option you want to have, we can definitely cater to that there. Okay, so with the questions, almost finished here. We're almost up to Q&A, so bear with me. We'll get into them shortly, and just in case if I missed anybody, feel free to repeat the question. Oh, and custom analytics, last but not least. Basic metrics you can measure on any plan. So if you want to see how many people have obviously attended, what time they've attended, so timestamps, you can also see chat logs, so you can see various elements, which I won't get into too much detail here due to time restraints. But with custom analytics, what this means is that if you have a non-typical feature, just let us know. And in most cases, we will be able to implement that. Okay, so we ensure the best-in-class customer experience. So, everything can happen, right? So you can, for example, have a problem, for example, associated with your internet, or maybe you didn't know that you can do this or that, or maybe you're doing an event where many more people have attended that you anticipated, and you haven't done the correct preparations, maybe in preparing for that scope of attendees. So if you have any question at all, reach out to our support team, and we'll definitely help you out. If you need assistance, also reach out. And yes, there's no question too silly, no question too stupid. Feel free to reach out to us anytime. And just some awards and honors that we've received in the past. Okay, so now I'm sure that a few of you have been looking forward to this bit, the Q&A session. So now, just so that I don't get lost, I'm just going to look at a few questions that I might have not replied to earlier. Okay, so maybe I'll start with you, Mikhail. Maybe I'll go from the back, and I'll go from the most recent question back a bit. Chat is working normally. Yes, this means that you can also have chat on evergreen events. If you remember my live demo, if you recall, I had this chat log on the right side of the screen. So this means that you would have to have somebody in the room, obviously, if you want to have some chat interaction. But yes, absolutely. Do you upload a video to be an evergreen webinar, or do you create the webinar in live webinar first and use the recording? You know what? That's up to you. So I will be making a evergreen event of this presentation here, but if you have something that you recorded in, say, YouTube or Vimeo. So if you recall, back at the event creation screen, we had those options. Just drop the link and that's it. So it's entirely up to you. How will it work already if I have a live webinar plan and want to add evergreen now? Excuse me. How that works is that you simply go into your dashboard and you create a evergreen event. Okay, it also depends on the plan type that you have. But if your plan type includes evergreen events, then yes, definitely. But if you shouldn't have evergreen events and you don't have them, let us know, and we'll definitely enable that for you. Okay, answered that question. Okay, Vadim, just like my colleague Mac has commented there, just go on that link and you'll be able to see all the pricing. And also, if you go closely, if you look closely, I'll actually show you that now. So just a second and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay. Okay, so here, let me know if it's a bit unclear or if you can't see. Here we have not only the plans, but also all the features that are associated with the plans. Right, so what we're looking for here is this thing here. Okay, so there you have it, evergreen events. So if you have a pro or a business plan, you have 3 and 5 respectively. With custom, you can determine how many you want. With enterprise, that's up to you. During our meeting, during our discussion, you told me, look, Adam, I'm looking at doing 20 evergreen events. No problem. 50, no problem. Okay, now moving back here. Okay, with questions regarding having something recorded on other software or aside from YouTube or Vimeo, that depends on what is associated with that link. So if it's simply a link that you go on and you view the content, then there's nothing preventing you from sharing that with the creation screen. Maria, no problems. I'll just go here. So feel free to reach out to me here. So I'll leave this screen on for a little bit. Any questions, reach out to my colleagues here from marketing in the chat, or reach out to support, or reach out to me. And if you'd really like to go the next step, customize your platform, have a tailor-made platform for your webinars, then feel free to reach out to me right away and let's talk. We'll set up a meeting. Okay, so if you have any questions after the webinar, once again, feel free to email any of us and we will assist you there. In my case, we'll schedule a meeting. So if you want to speak tomorrow or next week, I'll send you an invite and we'll have a one-on-one meeting. So you'll be able to see a bit more of a live webinar and be able to see a more in-depth and intimate look at how it can be used for this. Thank you, Adrian, for attending. Don, yes, it was recorded. Okay, and of course, if you have, maybe there's something that I've said that you have a different opinion of, or you have some feedback, then feel free to drop me some feedback as well. Thank you. Thank you all. Okay, so I'll be here for a couple more minutes just in case if somebody comes up with a last minute question for myself and the marketing team. Thank you. Yes. Let me go up. Marie, just like my colleague Mac is saying there, that was an example of a landing page. So actually, I'll see if I still have it open. Yes, I do. Perfect. Okay, let's jump back into this. Now, hopefully it's clear still. So you can see here, I have the main page, right? And then I have a thank you page. All I did was just embed it in there. Yep. Okay, well, all right, let's draw to a close. If you've written a question and nobody has attended to it, then feel free to just drop it in again. Other than that, wherever you are in the world, have a nice day or good night for some of our viewers, and looking forward to hearing from you shortly.